everyone, I've been doing a lot of lighting workshops lately, and I've discovered a topic that I think a lot of people have a pretty big misconception with, and that is flash duration. I don't know that it's as much a misconception as a lot of people don't necessarily know what it is or how it works. So this is going to be just a super short little video to talk about that. It's not a complete tutorial on how to use lighting, but it certainly, hopefully, will give you enough of a guidance in this topic to get you started, and then you can research it further. If you are local to the Philadelphia area, like I said, I've been teaching a number of lighting workshops, and they've been a lot of fun. We always get a model or two, and we do all kinds of different shoots, some balancing ambient light outdoors, some just doing total studio lighting indoors. And we go over basically all of the controls, everything on the controller, how they work, how to choose what lighting you're going to use, modifiers, the whole bit. So I'd certainly love to work with anybody that's local. But this is for everybody anywhere in the world that happens to be on the YouTubes. So basically what flash duration is, when you turn on your light, it builds up a power reserve in the capacitor, and then it releases that power. And the speed of the release of the power and how quickly the flash gets to its brightest illumination and goes away is your flash duration. And most cameras, well, all cameras have a sync speed, a max sync speed setting. Some of them are 1/125th of a second, some are 1/200th, a bunch are 1/250th. A couple vary from that, but somewhere in that range. And that's basically the speed where your camera shutter, or pair of curtains in your shutter mechanism, will basically drop. One drops and the other one starts behind it, and they're both, one is all the way dropped and one is all the way open, so the entire frame can get zapped with a single shot of light. Now, high-speed sync is where they have it calculated out to where it's going to fire a couple of times real quick to fill in the spaces. But we're going to talk about the fact that 1/200th of a second, or 1/125th of a second, or whatever you use for your sync speed, normally for motion, say you're taking a dancer jumping up in the air or an athlete doing a fast move or something like that, that would probably be fairly slow. You'd have a lot of motion blur in that subject because you know your shutter speed normally needs to be a lot quicker to freeze fast motion. In the use of strobe lighting, it's actually the duration of the flash that functions as your effective shutter speed. So even if you're at 1/200th of a second on your camera, if that flash from your light is only 1/13,000th of a second, that's how long your subject is going to be exposed by the light. And so you can have incredible stopping power for a moving object, like a water droplet or like anything that you would want to stop motion with, based on the flash duration, not your shutter speed. So one of the things that I wanted to show you before I wrap this up, and this is an AD200 by Godox. Fantastic little light, actually. I use a set of 3 for doing wedding receptions, and you can do an awful lot with these. They have less power than an AD400 or an AD600. They're also basically just barely larger than a speed light, so they're really, really nice lights. Anyway, if you go in and I'm going to have a hard time operating this backwards, so I'll actually probably turn it around and then I'll rotate it back to show you. But in your custom functions, if you hold the custom function button for 2 seconds, you'll get all of the different functions. So I went into the custom function number 6 and I turned that feature on instead of off. It defaults to off, so when you get it out of the box, it'll be turned off. When you turn it on, what it will do, if you are in manual mode and high-speed sync is turned off, down below you'll get a number. And in this case, I'm at 1/128th power, and the speed is 1/13,000th, 333 thirds of a second, something like that. And then as you dial your power and you go stronger and stronger light, you can see that that flash duration is actually going to get longer each time. So this is a fraction of a second. So as we get the smaller number, you're getting longer time. So when you get to 1/16th power on the light, it's at 1/5128th of a second for your flash duration. So that is essentially an effective shutter speed of 1/5000th of a second at 1/16th power. And then as you continue on through, if we go to 1/8 power, you're at 1/3225th, if I'm reading upside down correctly. And then 1/8, or 1/4, sorry, is still 1/1800th of a second. And at half power, you are now at 1/869th of a second. And at full power, you are at 1/220th of a second. So this has a couple of ramifications. One is, and I used to be completely mistaken on this, I would always set my ISO setting to 1/50th or 1/100th, whatever my lowest number could be, in order to get what I thought was going to be the best quality image. If your camera sensor doesn't get crummy as you're increasing your ISO a bit, you're actually going to get a whole lot better end result if you use a lower power on the light and bump your ISO up. Because effectively what you're doing is you're shortening that speed a lot. So if I give myself, for example, if I was at 1/4 power, and so that would be 1/1800th of a second plus a little bit, and my ISO was at 1/100th or native 1/50th, whatever your camera is at native ISO. If you add 2 stops in your ISO, I could then actually drop power by 2 stops, and I'd jump up to a flash duration of 1/5000th of a second, which would have a ton more stopping power. So that's a really neat little equation to work in, and something that's really helpful to understand, and something that I've only really come to wrap my head around the last 6 or 8 months or so. So I thought it would be a good thing to put together in a video and to share out. Hopefully that makes sense, and I'm sure I'll do a more involved lighting video over time. We'll come back to this topic more, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And that is your little tip, trick, and tidbit for the day. Have a great day, and thank you very much. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and all of those YouTube things. Thank you, and have a great day.